I don't know what it is with like 2019 into 2020 and animes with villains with plague masks, but first we have Overhaul in My Hero Academia, and now we have Giovanni in freaking Fire Force. So I don't know what's going on, but let's just get into it. So at the start of this episode, which this is actually kind of interesting, I didn't realize that they were going to actually continue this sort of storybook storytelling sort of thing, like what they're doing currently. Previously, we just had them kind of tell us the many causes of death, and then it would get right into the episode. But we actually get a story about the Cataclysm and how it was rebuilt, and we learn about Raffles and all that stuff. So apparently Raffles was involved in rebuilding society in a lot of ways. So kind of neat the way that their sort of religion works, but that was sort of a brief thing, and I guess they're going to start continuing to tell that story throughout the openings of each episode, which I'm fine with. It's actually really cool to me. So this episode sort of revolved a lot around family and things that can't be or shouldn't be broken, and gets really rough at points. So we of course pick up with Vulcan, and he's paying respects to his father and his grandfather who are passed, brings them their sodas at their gravesite. And it's a very touching moment. Of course, we know now at the end of this episode how much family means to Vulcan. And so we see that played out very well throughout this episode. He treats Lisa and he treats Yu like family, but also holds on to his values of things that need to stay not broken. So when Yu brings him a prototype of, I guess, something like a hologram machine, the first thing that Vulcan does is football spike it to the ground. And Yu's upset, of course, because like, well, you broke it. Why would you do that? But he points out that, things, if it breaks that easily, it's not worth it, or not, not good if it breaks that easily. And Yu says, well, if you throw it like that, it will. But then he goes, Vulcan goes into he goes into this speech about how bridges should not be easily broken. The power plant, the main power plant for the entire empire cannot be broken, or if it is, it's an empire-wide panic, an empire-wide problem, because Amaterasu powers the entire empire. So he very aggressively believes in things that should not be broken, and also believes, as we see right after that things like family should not and hopefully cannot be broken. But there is a unfortunate thing that happens later, which we'll get into, that kind of pushes his beliefs and his values. But we get this very beautiful beginning portion of the episode with his values and with the family he's built with Yu and Lisa, and it's just really nice to see, which makes the emotional gut punch later in the episode that much more impactful. But I keep getting ahead of myself, we'll get into that. So immediately after the opening, we get to see where Company 8's at, which they're still kind of hanging around the junkyard. And we, of course, know that with the way that Shinra's legs are, he has some kind of link or ability that makes him feel things and anticipate things that we're not expecting, or that he can feel that no other person can feel or really think of. And he knows that Giovanni is ready to kill. So he takes off and he tells the other two to go and take care of Vulcan, make sure that they are safe. Then we see Giovanni, and we know now that a member or a fire company, or a member of the fire company, I'm not sure if it's the whole fire company or just him and a couple others, they are directly involved with the White Clad, because Giovanni is, and the two fire soldiers that were with him are also involved. And yeah, they take off their fire garb, which I don't know why they would have done that. I guess because at this point they don't intend to leave survivors, so there's that. But he tells them to take off their fire soldier outfits, and they go in full white clad robe to kill Vulcan. And because Vulcan has heard so many times all these different things with all these fire companies trying to convince him to join, he takes what Arthur says and pretty much just tells him that they're lying. He doesn't believe them, that fire companies have tried so many things, and he kind of wanted to believe that Fire Company 8 was different, but now he's like, you're just making up lies to get me to join you. So Arthur and Iris's attempts were kind of in vain until Yu looks out the window and sees a ton of white-clad. Now we cut back for just a few moments to Shinra trying to find Giovanni, and we now know that Giovanni has, I guess, some sort of body modification. I don't know what the heck it is with this writer, and his fetish with body mods. Like, you had Professor Stein from Soul Eater with the screw in his head and all the stitches and scars everywhere, and now you've got Giovanni who's got, like, a robot arm and camera lens eyes, and I would assume his whole body is probably modded up in some way or another, considering he used to be one of the mechanics or whatever with Vulcan's family. But now we know, of course, that with Giovanni, he is a second-generation pyrokinetic, which means he can control fire, but he can't really create it, so he uses, like, boosters in his robotic wrist and all that kind of stuff. But he actually tricks Shinra because he mounts his arm to a tree, and by mounting his arm to a tree and sending it all over the place, makes Shinra think that it's actually where he is while he hides in a different location, and electrocutes the crap out of him. And because he's in a different location hiding, he hits Shinra with initially 2 million volts and then apparently a whole lot more. And that's enough to take out Shinra. And Giovanni was actually impressed that Shinra was able to kind of continue moving with 2 million volts going through him. But after that, yeah, he dropped him, and that was it. And so now Shinra's been captured, and Giovanni has this thing about, trying a bridge before you step on it kind of thing. Like, he has said that now through the episode. He says it multiple times. But he calls back to the White Clad saying that he's caught the one with the Adola burst and that he's going to go kill Giovanni now. So once Giovanni is done with Shinra, we get back to Arthur and Iris and Vulcan and the rest of them. And this was actually really funny. So Arthur's kind of wondering how Shinra let so many of the white-clad past, and he doesn't feel very knightly. Arthur doesn't. And we learn that the more knightly he feels, the more powerful his sword becomes, the more powerful his flame becomes. And it's sort of this, like, are you serious moment? But Vulcan plays along and builds him a sword-ish thing, straps a donkey head to his crotch, and wraps a tarp around his shoulders. But apparently that's enough to make him feel like a knight, and his sword becomes like a giant halberd sword, and he's able to, number one, clear out what we discover are illusions. I guess the one guy's flame ability is illusions. He can create, like, fire illusions or something. I don't know. The character's name, I believe, was Mirage. So yeah, he can create illusions of himself, and Arthur just wipes them all out. Then he goes after the next guy, who makes a mace out of fire, so kind of fitting a very, like, old-timey style fight between the two of them, between a mace and a giant, like, two-handed sword, which Arthur's wielding with one hand because it's a flame, so I guess it's not as heavy as, like, a real two-handed halberd sword. But yeah, Arthur is incredibly overpowered. He's a powerhouse when he's actually, like, feeling knightly, but that also then comes back to bite him later. But the fight kind of goes on and on until finally Mirage puts a image of Arthur in front of him, and Arthur sees how ridiculous he looks, and that gives the other guy enough of an opening to hit Arthur and take out his steed and drastically reduce the strength of Arthur's sword because he no longer feels nearly as knightly. So that's kind of the quick and easy way to take out Arthur, is make him kind of smash back into reality. And at that point, Vulcan plans to stay and have everybody else escape. And let me think how I'm going to say this. Remember last episode when I said I feel like there's more to Lisa because they didn't really cover much with her and she just kind of showed up? Anyway, with that we get a little bit of backstory on Lisa. We see, of course, that she ran away and Vulcan found her, so she's been living with him. And yeah, that really was all we get of her right now, though I feel like for some reason there's more to her than that, but maybe I'm wrong. She was planted there by Giovanni, and we discover that because as Vulcan was trying to get them to leave, she hits him with a burst of fire. So she's a pyrokinetic, and she is working with Giovanni. So that's not good. And the character design just makes her look really damn evil. Like, she seemed like a cool character, but man, she just... I don't know if it's like a redeemable character sort of thing later, like if she did actually kind of fall for Vulcan or not, but as of right now, it seems like she was pretty much planted there, and that's the story. That's that. So then Giovanni shows up and tasks the two outside with keeping Arthur from coming in, and then he goes in to negotiate. And boy, I do not like his character. He likes talking about how he's tested bridges to see if they're worth standing on, and how about smashing, bashing, crashing, smashing, mashing, mashing, smashing, whatever. Yeah, he rambles. And he gets in there to negotiate with Vulcan, and just, at this point, mentally, and at a certain point, physically, just tortures him, using Yu as one of the ways of torturing him. He, takes his robo-hand and smashes Yu up against the wall, and asks Vulcan where the key to Amaterasu is. And I didn't think that he had a key. We never really learned anything about that. And apparently Vulcan either is very stubborn in not telling him, or at the point where Vulcan is, sort of at his last wit's end because Yu's been shot by Giovanni and all of that. Even at the very end of all that, we don't get Vulcan telling Giovanni where the key is. So my guess is that he actually doesn't know. That's what I think. I don't really know, though. And part of me, getting back to with Lisa, part of me really does think that Lisa does have some feelings still for Vulcan, or actually has legitimate feelings for Vulcan, because, when all this stuff is happening with Yu getting shot, and when Giovanni's just beating the hell out of Vulcan, we see just this kind of shadow over the eye, deadpan look from her. So part of me thinks that she does have feelings for him, because she doesn't really express anything. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, though. We kind of have to wait and see. And at the very end of all of it, Giovanni beats the crap out of poor Vulcan, and then destroys the sphere that we saw the beautiful holograms of the animals and everything through, which was kind of sucky, and it also meant that at the end, as Vulcan says himself, everything's broken. So it does kind of... This whole episode is really just in place to show that Giovanni's evil, number one, and to really press Vulcan to his limits with knowing how things can be broken, but trying to build things that can't be broken, and then having Giovanni show up and break everything. So this episode absolutely did not go the way that I was expecting. It's not often I have kind of twists thrown my way that surprise me. The surprise reveal that Lisa was a plant kind of surprised me. Actually really surprised me, because I feel like there was more to her, but I was thinking more of she had some sort of tie with more of a tie with a fire company that was trying to enlist him, which I guess is technically true, but it was more devious than that. And also the fact that apparently Vulcan's family had ties to the building of Amaterasu. I did not expect that either. And apparently Vulcan didn't either. So overall, this definitely was sort of a low point episode. It's sort of our, act 2 out of 3 acts of sort of beginning, low point, and then end with redemption. Hopefully that happens, though in multi-episode shows, the low points can be several episodes to build up back to the full one. But at this point, Arthur and Iris are useless. Shinra has been defeated and captured, and Vulcan is either going to be killed or going to be captured. Yu might die, Lisa's now evil, and Giovanni still hasn't gotten what he wanted, but he's definitely pushed Vulcan to his limits, and there's not really anything left to push. So at the end of the day, this was a rough episode, but it was a good episode overall in the way that I liked what they did. It was just hard to watch. I hope you guys enjoyed it too. Please make sure to like and subscribe. That always means a lot to me, especially when I put all this work in and you guys actually watch and appreciate. So I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please make sure to like and subscribe. Check out the links in the description. Watch the show legally. I have the link to Funimation down below. I don't have a link for any sort of out of the U.S. streaming services, but unfortunately, that's just kind of where I'm at with that. I don't have any options for you. But if you are in the U.S., watch it legally down there. And apart from that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Make sure to be there and have a good one. Hey guys, just hopping in at the end here. Thanks for watching through the whole video. I hope you enjoyed it. I do still have merch. I've actually had it for quite a while, but not a lot of people know about it or care. And so if you guys want to support me or check it out just because it looks cool, go to the link in the description. You can see some of the designs I have, like the Steel Frodo in Steins Gate design, or even the Mob Psycho 100 design, and maybe even buy one if you like it, or don't. I cried myself to sleep at night anyway. So either way, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching again, and I'll see you in the next one.